adjusting the valves on my VW Beetle. Today I'm doing something every Beetle deserves from time to time, adjusting the valves on the air-cooled boxer engine. This simple but crucial procedure ensures the engine breathes properly, runs more efficiently, and lasts longer. Valve adjustment is recommended every 5,000 kilometers or 3,000 miles. If these simple tasks are done on time, most major breakdowns can be completely avoided. One of the few necessary routine jobs is setting the valve clearance. The engine can't run properly if the valves aren't correctly adjusted. At one end of the crankshaft, there's a gear that drives the camshaft. The camshaft's job is to open and close the valves. Each cylinder has two cam lobes, one for the intake valve and one for the exhaust valve. Since the cylinders are positioned opposite each other at 180 degrees in a boxer engine, a single cam lobe can control the same function for two opposing cylinders. Valve clearance is the gap between the tip of the rocker arm and the valve stem. When the engine is cold, that gap should be 0.15 millimeters or 6 thou on all engines made after 1964. This spec is usually written on a label on the fan shroud. Clearance is most easily measured with feeler gauges inserted between the rocker arm and the valve. A valve may look simple, but it endures extreme operating conditions. Proper seating is key to long valve life. If the valve doesn't seat evenly, heat transfer suffers, gases leak, and the valve face gets burned. Incorrect valve clearance affects how the engine runs and performs. The engine operates both cold and hot, and metal expands when it heats up. Since not all parts expand the same, the valve clearance is what compensates for that. Tools I need: a set of feeler gauges, 0.15 millimeters or 6 thou blade, a screwdriver, 13 millimeter wrench, 21 millimeters wrench to manually turn the crankshaft, 2 new gaskets for the valve covers, though sometimes they're still good. We'll see once I remove the covers. Very important, the engine must be cold, at least 3 to 4 hours of rest. I always leave the Beetle overnight, then check and adjust the valves in the morning. The firing order on the Beetle is 1, 4, 3, 2. That's written on the generator or alternator bracket in every Beetle engine. Here it is. But valve adjustment is done in a different order: 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's begin. First, I remove the distributor cap. I turn the engine manually, using a wrench on the crankshaft pulley. I rotate the rotor inside the distributor to the position for cylinder 1 until the notch on the pulley lines up with the crankcase split. That's top dead center. To be sure, I check that the ignition wire from the distributor is leading to the spark plug on cylinder 1. Usually, there's also a small notch on the edge of the distributor housing that shows rotor position for cylinder 1. Now I'm removing the valve cover for cylinders 1 and 2. That's the cover on the lower right side of the engine when facing it from the back. Now the valves and rocker arms are within reach. We can clearly see the intake and exhaust valves. These are the intake valves, and these two are the exhaust. The valve cover gasket is in very bad condition, and I'll have to replace it. Some pieces are still stuck, so I'll need to carefully pry them off with a screwdriver. I'm wiping everything down with a cloth to remove any remaining dirt. I check the gap between the rocker arm and the valve stem. If it goes in too easily, The gap is too big. If it won't go in at all, it's too small. I loosen the lock nut, then turn the screw until it just grabs the gauge. When the blade slides in with a slight resistance, the gap is correct. Then I tighten the nut and recheck. This valve is just right. The clearance is spot on. The exhaust valve clearance is good, so I won't adjust it. To adjust cylinder 2, I need to turn the crankshaft counterclockwise 180 degrees. Since the pulley isn't marked, I'll use a ruler to mark the 180 degrees point myself. Now I turn the engine by hand counterclockwise for half a turn. The rotor in the distributor rotates 90 degrees counterclockwise into position for cylinder 2. Same procedure as with cylinder 1. I'm checking both valves. The intake valve clearance is fine, but I'll need to adjust the clearance on the exhaust valve. I'm loosening the lock nut, inserting the feeler gauge. Using a screwdriver, I'm tightening the screw until it just touches the feeler gauge. Now I'm tightening the lock nut. Checking if the clearance is correct. Cylinder 2 is done. Now that I've finished this side, I clean the valve cover and install a new gasket. Putting the cover back on. One side is done. Now, I'm moving to the other side of the engine, cylinders 3 and 4. Again, I rotate the crankshaft 180 degrees counterclockwise, so the rotor moves to position for cylinder 3. Rotor rotates another 90 degrees counterclockwise and now points to cylinder 3. I remove the valve cover. This one's easier. But the gasket is stuck, baked on. It's falling apart. I'll have to peel it off in pieces. Now it's clean. Same procedure again. This valve is too tight. The feeler gauge won't go in. I loosen the lock nut, adjust the screw. Check again. Now it's good. Now I'm tightening the lock nut. The intake valve clearance is good, so I won't adjust it. Cylinder 3 is done. One more 180 degrees counterclockwise turn of the crankshaft to position the rotor for cylinder 4. The exhaust valve clearance is good, so I won't adjust it. This one's too tight as well. The blade won't go through. I loosen the nut, adjust the screw. It's good now. This valve is fine, right on spec. Clean the valve cover on this side. Install the new gasket. Putting the cover back on. I started the engine and let it run for a bit. Now I'm checking for leaks under the valve covers. No leaks, everything's as it should be. Why is valve clearance adjustment important? Incorrect valve clearance can cause burned valves or valve guides, bent valves, loss of power or poor throttle response, that lump in the throat, feeling sudden choking or power drop when accelerating, increased harmful emissions. All of this can be avoided with regular maintenance. And that's it. The valves are adjusted, and the Beetle is ready for more miles. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. See you next time.